Let's talk about live singing for a second. I want to point out certain things that happen live that I keep having my students come back to me to talk about. Happening with your voice, happening with your singing voice, and the endurance of your singing voice, and the things you have to get through to make it keep working, especially once you start to feel worn out and you realize you've been singing wrong already. Let's talk about that. I'm Draven Gray with Rock Singing Success, and I've had a 30-year career in this, a lot of performances. And I've also taught a lot, and I mean a whole lot of students, over 6,000 online, almost 1,000 in person. That the main thing I see keep coming up over and over and over and over again, especially when it comes to live shows, is, hey, I started losing my voice, started getting a little squeaky, started getting a little bit hard at the end of the set, or like 45 minutes in, or God forbid the people that have the 3-hour-long sets because they're in a cover band and they have to sing a lot of it. I've had great students that I showed how to survive that and still be okay, and the things you have to do to hold your voice, and the things you need to pay attention to for that longevity throughout the show. And they're doing great with really long sets. I've had the same thing in vocal distortion or screams and over like 3 hours, and then they feel great afterwards. They don't have any vocal fatigue because they practice it all the time and they train for that all the time. As I've often said, and Greek philosopher Archilochus, his words really stuck with me when he said, "We don't rise to the level of our potential, we fall to the level of our training." That's a big statement. We don't rise to the level of our potential. We don't hope to do it and then suddenly it happens. We don't just go headstrong into it and hope we make it all the way through. That's not how we work. And when it comes to the human body, even more so. It's an athleticism when it comes to singing that you have to train and build over time. So if you're not training, then you're not addressing the issues you need to for live singing. So you will get worn out if you push a little bit more. You will, if you're not using the right techniques, you're not placing your voice well, you're not actually paying attention to, are you pushing for the note or are you shaping for that note? Are you pushing for that distortion or are you shaping into the distortion? Is it easy? Is it hard? Oh, it's hard. Well, don't just keep pushing. Find a better position for it. There's a few things to do for that. Real quick, I want to let you know about our Rock Singing Success community. You want a place to discuss this topic further or other topics, a place where you can improve your voice and your music career with courses and other resources, and even have a community of like-minded singers and rock and metal that are on the same path. Those that support each other, encourage each other along the way. Then join us at school.com/rocksingingsuccess. And that's SKOOL.com/rocksingingsuccess. That position where you're holding it up here is probably the most important thing ever that you could pay attention to. Holding a cry, a slight whimper. I'm holding my voice up. Some people call this their Michael Jackson voice. One of my teachers even teaches it as the Valley Girl voice because they're like holding it up towards the eyes. And it's a really stereotyped, like bad Valley Girl voice, but it holds it in a different position towards the eyes that gets you off of the throat. And suddenly singing gets way easier. And there's a lot of scientific explanation for that I don't want to go into in this podcast, but it's essentially giving you better compression and taking the weight off the throat where you're not having to flex for that compression. That's really important on high notes. But it's honestly, keeping your voice up there and having that slight mix into head voice is important for singing all the time, low or high. Distortion, I'm going like over crying it, or even I'm over crying my voice and I'm manipulating that shape using mostly cry and then a few other muscle groups that I have to mess with. If you're forcing it, you're doing it wrong. You go through our other episodes on vocal distortion, go through our other episodes on singing high, and get it right. Okay, don't force it. When you want to push, cry it more instead. Just cry a little bit more into it and make sure that you're not pushing, you're releasing air, that you had enough air to begin with. So you're filling up from the bottom up and then going, into cry. That's the first step I want to show you to do live. When you notice that note's hard. Hey, I'm starting to push there. Oh man, I'm running out of air fast. Oh, why is that difficult to sing? When you start to notice those things, step away from the mic. Get away from it for a second, a few feet away. And I want you to do a yawn from high to low in an overcried position, so you're very whimpery, and it's a sigh. Great job, you just reset your voice. So now you're up here and you're singing from the correct position again. And as soon as it gets hard again, do it again. Step away. Great. You're there. If you know this song, you start out in the wrong position every time with this certain song. And I've one in particular I'm thinking of. It said this starting on this one note for this one song was always hard. And she would just yell it. And then finally kind of relax into the right position after that. So what we did is kind of analyze her voice a bit and got her into just being able to whimper into it before the song even starts. So she was starting up here, hey, and she just like went for it, oh, no, and was yelling it. So we took a moment during the intro where there was an extra note played in the background that she could hear, and she would just go, she's whimpering into an M, where that M is up and forward. So she's getting good compression. She's getting into a singing position. And then when she went for it, she's in the right, it's exactly the right spot. And you'll hear a lot of singers do that at the beginning of a song. It's not just a soulful way to go, it's not just soulful and getting into it. It is a way to set their voice. And now you're in the right spot. Once the song actually starts. There's been plenty of times I've done that as well, where I'd have, if it was me starting the song, I would have my guitarist play a certain note that kind of gave me a reference really softly in the background. And then I would go away from the microphone and then go into the mic. Or if it called for it, I could actually sing and then go into the song. You hear, things like that, calling out, hey, that can help you get into that position where you're lifted again, and now you're good to go again. Okay. There's also a problem in that I've seen where singers are overdoing that part, but I know what I wanted to say. Going into distortion with that has been an issue, where it's not just like you're singing, so what do? You can't just go, and suddenly you're in the wrong spot. You whimper into the acoustics that you're wanting to scream in. So if I'm going, yo, that's a and now I'm in the right spot. Or if it's a and you know those acoustics are low and you're getting more false chord orientation, it's I would go and then I would go into the mic. So I'm just doing that lightly towards myself at first, or by myself, not into the mic at first. Or you could. Nobody really cares. And then you go into the song and you're ready. Because you kind of set that spot. Like you were kind of setting it into a whimper, making sure the acoustics are in the right spot, and then go back into it. Okay, so let's talk about endurance, because that's a way to reset your voice, sure. But the main thing you need to be paying attention to throughout the entire set is that you're not getting too loud. You're not. Hey, if I want to belt, and go, hey, that is not loud. Hey, it sounds it when I'm compressed on my microphone, sure, but I am putting very little effort into that. I'm shaping it really well. And I would say the one thing I'm thinking about the entire concert is, okay, stay at a medium throttle. I don't need to yell this. I don't need to be loud to make it happen. Stay at a medium throttle. It still feels good. I still have good resonance. It's the shape that I need for the sound color I want. Belting is a shape. Distortion is a shape. No, does not need to be loud. Even Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth says he eats the microphone when he does that because it's not loud. And I know you're thinking, well, what about other screamers that are loud? They don't need to be. But I just remember thinking some screamers talking about how they got so loud and so low and so powerful and laughing about it and saying that took 12 years. Take your time with it. You don't need to be loud. And if you want longevity and being loud wears you out, why are you being loud? You can get the same sound color with the right shaping and a little practice to get a little quieter. When you eat the mic, it doesn't matter. Nobody ever notices. And there's also the effect of getting into the beltiness, getting into the distortion. It already has a level of athleticism that's causing you to get worn out over time. So you've got to be practiced ahead of time. You still got to go back to the training, guys. You've got to be practiced in a way that you're conditioned to do it already. You're doing the right strength training to build endurance. You're doing the right distortion training to build conditioning in the false chords so that they don't just get sore and swollen. And I'm talking the false chords, not your true chords. They don't get swollen and you start to lose coordination over distortion because of it. If your true chords are getting swollen, you're doing distortion wrong. You actually need to get with a teacher that really knows how to do it and to show you how to do it right so you don't hurt yourself. And I have some bad horror stories around that. Going back to the live show. So let's say you've noticed, hey, I've been really loud this whole time. Well, there's a few things you can do. Besides just paying attention to not being loud, or the vocal resets. The main reason most singers are loud live is because they can't hear themselves well. You need to hear yourself better. If you don't hear yourself very well in that mix, in your in-ears or in your monitors, you're going to naturally get louder and start pushing. It's not what you want to do. So hear yourself really well. Make sure as the singer, you can definitely hear yourself or you're going to end up pushing your voice through the show. The other thing is if you're using distortion throughout your show and clean singing, like grit and clean singing, listen to some of the other singers out there that do that. I think you'll be surprised. Like Bruce Dickinson in going, you take my love and I take yours too. Like doing that distortion in his voice on the album, sure, great. On live shows, nope, he doesn't do it. He has distortion here and there, but it's not the whole time. If you're doing a little bit of distortion, the audience will remember it as distorted. You don't need to do it the whole time. I think of David Draymond and Disturbed, where it's sure maybe the first show of the tour is distorted, and then suddenly everything's clean every show after that. I've seen that happen because holding that distortion over and over and over, it still wears you down and you start to lose coordination and control of it. And then you start to get your false chords swollen. You start to put more effort into it at that point, and then things get bad. We're not going to go there. So, just don't do it. Just tame it down. And if you're screaming the whole time, don't do it loud. Do it a little quieter. Just put your body into it. You don't need to put your breath support into it to be powerful in your sound. In fact, there's something Chris Lipe said that I really appreciated when he was apologizing about teaching distortion wrong before. He said, I was wrong. It's not in your face aggressive. It's vulnerable and falling apart. It's or like all that is on the edge of falling apart. It's a vulnerable thing to do. When you want to be aggressive, use your over-articulation. Over-articulate your words and you will be aggressive. That's where the aggression can come from. If you want to feel powerful and aggressive, you have to get vulnerable first. That's all very vulnerable. Even the more aggressive in-your-face stuff where it's more compressed in the distortion. I'm still just barely falling apart. And to mention that specifically, I will talk about Meshuggah. Meshuggah's album. He is very compressed and forward with that. It's not as loud as it sounds, but it is compressed, which means it's going to wear down faster. So when you listen to him live, he goes, he's much more relaxed in a head voice. It's not as in your face. He's actually being vulnerable. And since it's much more relaxed, he can do it for a lot longer. That's the type of stuff I want you to pay attention to. Chill out, relax, keep it under control. Don't get loud. Make sure you can hear yourself. Make sure you have a proper warm up to get into the right position. And then when you notice you're not in the right position during the show, take a break, get back in the right position, whether it's between songs or break in the song where you just do that yawn. If that's enough, or you can go and get the position back for your voice. That's what you need to be going for. You don't, there's just no reason to wear yourself out every single show when you can bring those things into your show and make it easier. Trust me on this, guys. Just try it. Just write it down on your set list that you've got to do these certain things at certain times in the show. You'll notice in your rehearsal, if you're rehearsing like you're doing a live show, like you should be, then you'll notice those moments that come up where it starts to get harder. Make a note of it on your set list so that you know, okay, reset my voice here. Maybe I need to do that the song before so it's not as hard in that song. Make sure that I'm breathing properly. I'm in the right position for my voice, and then keep going. Maybe there's certain parts you push. Write it on your set list. Don't push. Cry. Or if you know it's hard to hear yourself before the show, make sure you work with the sound man so that you actually do hear yourself well. And honestly, I love in-ears because of that. Like, they make it so much easier to hear. That can be too expensive for some people. That's a different story altogether. That's a totally different episode. You've got this. Get on top of it. And if you need my help or you're experiencing other things live, get on the Roxing Success community in the links below and let me help you. Hope to see you there.